You need them to build a PC, but they never get much attention, so today I'm going to put some focus on them. Welcome back to the channel, and today is all about the tools of the trade. Specifically, what tools do you need to build a computer and what have my experiences been with them? I'll split the tool discussion between air-cooled and AIO and then jump into tools needed for custom water cooling loops. Air cooling and AIOs are the simplest ways to build a PC and with the least amount of tools. In some situations, you can get away with building a PC by using a single Phillips head fixed screwdriver. If you're extremely tight on a budget and already have this laying around your home, like most people do, you may be able to get through your build with it, but I personally don't recommend that. The reason for not recommending that is there are usually multiple different sizes of screws being used on the build, and it's easy to damage those screws with the wrong size screwdriver, which can be a huge headache later on. What I would recommend is getting a screwdriver that has interchangeable bits. This is an iFixit driver that comes with the Mako driver and bit set. The iFixit Mako set is around $40, but iFixit also has driver and bit sets like the Mirai and Minnow that cost around $20 and $15 respectively. Any of these kits will have the necessary bits and driver to successfully build an air-cooled or AIO-cooled PC. It's really that simple. So this is what the Mako comes with, all of these bits and this little flexible extension, which is super nice if you have to get into a really tight area. Now, if you don't have too much of a budgetary concern, the LTT screwdriver is one of the best screwdrivers I've ever personally used. This thing feels great and works amazing and is my preferred go-to screwdriver in most of my builds and even in any projects that require a screwdriver. The iFixits, like I said, are amazing for when I need to get into small areas or I don't need a lot of torque on the actual screw. One other thing to mention is that some PC parts like my contact frame from Thermal Grizzly for my CPU in my current build mention a torque specification, and if torqued improperly may cause system instability. This is where a torque driver comes in handy, and I've found this to be an incredibly helpful tool to have. It's not necessary, but a definite bonus for more in-depth custom building. If you really wanted to, you could find the torque specs for every single screw and make every screw perfectly torqued in your build with this. I'll have links to all these tools in the description if you want to go check them out for yourself. Now let's take a look at what tools you need for custom water cooling loops. This is only going to be covering tools necessary for soft tubing and hard tubing. And for hard tubing, this will only cover what you need for PETG and PMMA tubing. For glass tubing or metal tubing, you're going to need other tools, and since I haven't done a build yet with those, I'm not going to sit here and tell you what you need. In addition to the tools needed for air-cooled builds, you're going to need several other tools. This is a kit from Corsair, and it's actually quite a nice starter kit. It works excellent with their XT hardline tubing and comes with several tools. However, this can all be pieced together separately if you would like, but that kit makes it extremely easy to get started. First, you need something to cut your tubing to length like this hacksaw. It's simple and gets the job done. A cutting jig is next, and while not technically necessary to have, I think it is due to safety concerns and being accurate with your cuts. This keeps your hands and fingers in a safe place and also keeps the tubing from moving around while you're cutting, and it lets you cut a nice straight cut on your tube. A deburring tool like this is necessary to smooth out the inside and outside of your cuts so that your tubing doesn't cut your O-rings when you install your fitting. I also like to add some sandpaper in at this step to really smooth things out on the tubing itself. Or if I want to make extremely fine length adjustments, you know, a millimeter here or there, sanding is a great way to do that. Next up is a silicone insert, and this is absolutely necessary to prevent your tubing from collapsing or crinkling during bending by providing support inside of the tubing while you are bending it. And with it being silicone, it will be able to withstand the heat needed to bend the tubing. This bending mandrel is not a necessary item, but one that can help you make consistent bends at the right angles. Now, like I said, all of these can be purchased separately from the kit that I showed you. And there are other things that you can get to add on to this list for tube bending, but this will absolutely get you started and has everything you need besides one last thing. This is a heat gun and is used to heat the tubing to a temperature which allows the tubing to bend. This particular heat gun has multiple temperature settings, so you can fine tune the temperature of the heat, and if you don't have this, there won't be any bending getting done at all. Now that was all for hard tubing, but for soft tubing, all you need is something to cut the tubing, and while the hacksaw would eventually cut it, it's not the best option for this kind of tubing. All you need is something like this tubing cutter, and you'll be good to go. Now you might ask, why not just use that to cut the hard tubing? Hard tubing is prone to shattering, especially PMMA tubing, so there's a high chance that when you try to cut with that kind of tube cutter, the tubing would shatter and become unusable. The hacksaw prevents the shattering, so that is a better way to cut that kind of tubing. As you can see, it's super simple to build an Air or AIO cooled PC when it comes to what tools you'll need, but it very quickly increases in complexity and cost once you introduce a custom loop into the equation. And again, this is pretty much the absolute minimum on what you'll need to successfully build. With all that said, check the links in the description to check out the tools in this video. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below or let me know what tools are your favorite. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.